So we are going to take a look at the Arian Heresy. So I want to clarify a couple of terms before we get started on the actual content of the heresy. So first, there's the word orthodoxy. Okay, or orthodoxy. Okay. So orthodox or orthodoxy refers to right or correct belief or opinion. So if you think of this stem ortho, we use in orthopedics, orthodontists. So you think of people, they straighten teeth or legs. Um, and then doxa is opinion, belief. Okay, so that's orthodoxy. And so heterodoxy is deviant um, belief or opinion. And another word for heterodoxy is heresy. Okay, so when we speak of the Arian heresy, we're talking about a heterodox opinion. All right. So the story with the Arian heresy begins in 318 AD, or roughly in that general time period. So the Arian heresy, we're talking in general in the let's say the early 300s AD. So in 318 AD, there is a priest in Alexandria by the name of Arius. So he's in Alexandria, that's in Egypt. And so he began to advance a particular kind of particular teaching about Jesus, and it deviated from the general tradition that the Christians had received from the ancient followers of Christ, the disciples, the early apostles, and so it began to rankle a lot of people. So, what exactly did Arius have to say? Okay, so Arius said quite a few things. So, in the Gospel of John, Jesus is referred to as the Logos. Okay, the Logos was a term that was popular in Greek philosophy, but also entered biblical usage through the Gospel of John, who describes Jesus as the Logos. Right. So Arius is going to use this term to talk about Jesus. So he says that the Logos, and so there are going to be a number of statements he makes about the Logos. So we'll just list them. So the Logos is not truly God, nor is it equal to God. Okay, and when we say God, we're talking about the Father. All right, so the Logos is not, the Logos is created out of nothing. Okay, so the Logos is, that means the Logos is not, not eternal. That's one implication here. So not eternal, right, has a beginning. Okay. Now, so the Logos was created directly by God. So okay, let me just clarify this. So it was the only creature created directly by God, and I hope to explain that a little bit later. Okay, the Logos can be called God, but is not of the same substance as God. It does not share the same substance. Okay, so the Logos is um, before all other creatures, but has a beginning, as we said earlier. So the way he saw the Logos was as, so to say, was an instrument of creation. Um, so the rest of creation, while God remained at an exalted distance. So a couple other things about then the Logos itself, right, is that so in the incarnation, so the incarnation is that is the the conception and just the human existence of Jesus. So the incarnation is when the Logos becomes human, right? And that's in the Bible when Jesus becomes human. He's incarnated. He becomes a human being. All right. So in the incarnation for Arius, um, the Logos, okay, becomes uh, flesh, right? So this is a popular term used in the Gospel of John. The Logos becomes flesh through union, okay, with a human body, right? So let's just think about this. So this is saying that the Logos is, um, I'm sorry, not the Logos, but Jesus is Logos plus body. Okay, but what's missing? No soul. Right. So this, of course, is going with the assumption that the human being, the complete human being, is body and soul. Right. So if you think about this, there's something that makes sense about this. Now, the logos is, in a sense, in Greek philosophy, is pure rationality in itself, like the absolute epitome of wisdom and rationality. And so, if the logos becomes human, why on earth would the logos need to think human thoughts with a human mind, right? So all the logos really needs is just a body, not a soul. All right. So that was Arius's view. And so one thing that we can sort of surmise from all of this is that so Jesus Christ in the Arian view um, is an intermediary being. Okay, he is neither divine nor human. All right. So I'm going to move this up here to the side. All right. So with Eris, just to maybe draw you just a quick diagram here to see if we can clarify some of this. So let's say you have God here on this side, okay? And then we draw a line. So this line represents the distinction between God and everything else, okay? So I'm just going to have up here creation. Excuse me. Okay. So the logos exists on this side of the divide. Okay, so that's the logos. Okay, and then everything else is, just so past this. Yeah, the rest, I'll just say rest of creation. Right. So what happens in creation is that God creates the logos, and then the logos creates everything else. But the logos is a creature in Arius's understanding of the logos. Now, this is distinctively not Christian. Okay, just to be clear, but this was Arius' conception. Now you might ask, why exactly was he insistent on this? Well, um, he was somewhat of a Platonist, right? And so that means he subscribed to Plato's philosophy. And so within Plato's philosophy, there's God is transcendent, and God is absolutely simple. So God is simple. God is one, literally one. So in this way, there's really no way to conceive of God and some other entity up there. So we've seen that in the Gospel of John. John talks about the Logos who was with God and Logos who was God. So you're talking about two distinct things, God and His Logos. Um, in but for the Platonic way of thinking, that would have been hard. You just couldn't conceive of having two as two beings, so to speak, or two entities up there occupying that space. So for Arius, there could only be one up here, right? If you're going to preserve the unity of God, then the logos had to be separate, right, on the creature side of the ledger. Okay, so that was um, Arius's view. So Jesus is neither human, so we can put humans here. Okay, so Jesus is neither human. I'm just going to put a line, nor is he divine, right? The Logos is sort of right here in this sort of intermediary space. So the Arian heresy gained much support, and so Arianism, as it's called, spread in the early Christian world. Okay, so it was so much of a major problem, that it began to concern uh, a lot of Christians at the time. Now, Alexandria was a port city, and so Arius was able to spread. So Alexandria, spell that right? Excuse me. So Alexandria was a port city, and so because of that, he could encounter merchants or people coming from different parts of the Mediterranean. He would, share his ideas, especially share them in creative ways like poetry or in hymn form, and they would take these things back with them. And before we knew it, the Arian heresy had spread throughout um, the early Christian world. In 320 A.D., he is condemned and excommunicated, okay, by a local council in Alexandria. Okay, but that doesn't really stop anything. And so finally, this becomes a major problem in all of Christianity, that the emperor, Constantine, convenes a council in a place called Nicaea in 325, and this council is known as the First Council of Nicaea, and that's in 325 AD.